Georgian presidential crisis. Opposition does not recognize the elections. Only one candidate was announced for the new president, and he was elected. Germany on high alert as Russian spy vessels roam the Baltics and cut internet cables, spy on the NATO forces in the region too. This and more in our weekly wrap-up. Mikheil Kavelashvili, a pro-government and anti-Western politician aligned with Georgia's ruling Georgian Dream party, was sworn in as the country's sixth president on December 29th. The move was met with strong opposition, with critics labeling the election illegitimate and undemocratic. Outgoing President Salome Zurabishvili, Georgia's fifth head of state, vacated the presidential palace but declared that she remains the country's sole legitimate leader. Vowing to continue her fight against Georgian Dream Party, Zurabishvili denounced Kavelashvili's election as a mockery of democracy. Kavelashvili, a former professional football player, was the only candidate on the ballot in an election conducted by a parliament widely disputed by the opposition and international observers. Protests in Georgia continue for almost a month after the decision of the ruling Georgian Dream Party to withhold EU integration talks, allegedly to 2028 and in reality for good, as expected by the Georgian opposition. The inauguration ceremony took place amid growing criticism of Georgian Dream's increasingly authoritarian governments. The ruling party has been accused of adopting Russian-style laws targeting media, non-governmental organizations with foreign funding, and the LGBT community. Georgian Dream's refusal to impose sanctions on Russia following its full-scale invasion of Ukraine has drawn widespread criticism and sparked allegations of their real allegiance. The party's rhetoric, labeling Western nations as the global party of war, contrasts sharply with Georgia's constitutional commitment to EU integration and territorial integrity, as Georgia's own territories are still under Russian occupation since 2008. While the majority of Georgians support EU membership, the government announced in November that it would delay seeking EU accession talks until 2028. The announcement ignited days of protests in the capital Tbilisi. Demonstrators, frustrated by the government's pro-Russian stance, clashed with riot police, who responded with tear gas, water cannons, and even rubber bullets. Protesters retaliated by throwing stones and fireworks, signaling deep public discontent with Georgian Dream policies and an inner break in the society. Kavelashvili's inauguration further intensifies the divide between the government and pro-European opposition forces, leaving Georgia's future uncertain but looming pro-Russian stance.
This presidential residence was a symbol of power as long as there was a president here who was legitimate. I'm bringing legitimacy with me, I'm taking the flag with me, I'm taking your trust with me. This is a real parody of inauguration, and this country does not deserve such parodies, because there is a parody in contrast to us. They are behind closed doors, frightened, sold out, legitimate, unrecognized by anyone, sanctioned and bitter.
The United States this week imposed sanctions on Bidzina Ivanishvili, the billionaire founder of Georgia's ruling Georgian Dream Party and the country's former prime minister. The move highlights growing international concerns about the party's authoritarian turn and its ties to Russia. Georgia operates as a parliamentary democracy, with the president serving as a head of state and the prime minister leading the government. Salome Zurabishvili, elected president in 2018 with Georgian Dream's endorsement, has since distanced herself from the party. She condemned their continuous October election victory as a Russian special operation and has supported nightly pro-EU protests outside parliament, the sanctions against Ivanishvili, and pressure on Georgian Dream as protests continue to demand accountability and a clear path towards EU integration continue. Russian active hybrid measures to disrupt European security continue too. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has raised alarm over Russia's alleged shadow fleet following a series of incidents involving undersea cable damage across Europe. Almost every month, ships are damaging critical undersea cables in the Baltics, Baerbock told Germany's Funke media group on December 28th. She highlighted suspicious behavior by ship crews, such as deliberately lowering anchors and dragging them across the seabed for kilometers before abandoning them. The concerns follow Finland's report of damage to the Estlink 2 power cable connecting Finland and Estonia earlier this week. Finnish authorities suspect sabotage detaining the oil tanker Ego S, which is linked to Russia's Shadow Fleet. This network of vessels is used to evade sanctions, including those targeting Russian oil exports, and to fund Moscow's war in Ukraine. Over 50 ships from the fleet have been already sanctioned by the EU as of mid-December. Last month, 2 fiber optic cables in the Baltic Sea were also severed, prompting Swedish investigators to board a Chinese vessel as part of their investigation into potential sabotage. Bedbox warning highlights the growing threat to Europe's critical infrastructure and the need for unified action against malicious activities linked to Russia's Shadow Fleet. And returning to the German politics, Mr. Friedrich Merz, the most likely candidate for German chancellorship, have claimed that the German peacekeeping mission to Ukraine is possible only with the consent of Russia.
If a peace agreement is reached and Ukraine needs security guarantees, we can only discuss this if there is a clear mandate under international law. I don't see it at the moment. I would like such a mandate to be given in consensus with Russia, not in conflict. Friedrich Merz, head of the CDU party of Germany, in a comment to Zeit publication.
It is highly understandable that the German leadership will not want to get into the real threat of a conflict with Russia, keeping in mind the tragic events of World War II. But still, we have a very noticeable progress in terms of support for Ukrainian defense in the war against Russia than it was in 2022, and especially in 2014, when all possible weapons supplies to Ukraine were banned in Europe. And we cannot be sure of what will happen tomorrow, or in a month, in a year perhaps. Positions and decisions change depending on the geopolitical landscape and the correct timing of this or that decision. And that was all for this day and for the week. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below to support us and help us deliver the news of the free world to you directly from Ukraine. Hope you have a safe and nice evening, and don't let propaganda win.